All right, ladies and gentlemen, or the few gentlemen that somehow actually made it to this meeting today, my name is Hanna Gronkiewicz-Waltz. I'm a news journalist, being cabled now, I think. No, I think I can handle this for now. Okay. So let me introduce our guests, our panelists. We have Mahmouni Rahimi, who is a journalist, an Iranian journalist in exile. She today works for the Voice of America. And we can have a big applause for her, actually. We have with us Ms. Fariba Davoudi Mohajer, who is also an Iranian journalist in exile and a human rights activist. Where do we have her? I don't see her, actually. She's on her way. Oh, yeah, welcome. This is her. What a brilliant entrance. We have Mary Lawler, who is the director of Frontline, which is the International Foundation for the Protection of Human Rights Defenders. We have Mariam Amarsadeghi, who is a human rights activist, very much engaged in different internet projects, and you know how vital and important the internet is today in Iran, a country who has actually been barred from civilized news and civilized media. This is where we get most of our information from Tehran and from Iran. This is the internet, actually. And we have Radvila Morkinaite, who we already met, a member of the European Parliament from Lithuania. Okay, so before we actually start with our next session, where we'll be trying to answer the fundamental question, which is how the outside world, how the international community can help the women and the people of Iran in their pursuit for freedom and maybe eventually one day democracy. A quick reminder of the problem that we're addressing. So what is exactly that we should help with? One could say that Mr. Ahmadinejad, having appointed 2 women to his cabinet, has made a huge leap forward, right? One could think this pretty thought that things are actually going in the right direction in Iran. Well, actually no charters in the cabinet pose any threat to the very essence of the Islamic fundamentalist rule in Iran today, which is misogyny in its most oppressive and its most violent form. As a journalist, as a news journalist, I like to put faces on problems, and let's put actually 3 faces, those of the most recent victims of a totalitarian regime that has been a catastrophe for women, young and old, in Iran for the past 20 years. If I can have the first picture, please. Pierwsze zdjęcie, jeśli można prosić. All right, so this is this picture of Saida Puragai, a young student who was arrested for chanting Allah Akbar on the roof of her home. This was during June's protests, so the authorities, the agents that came for her, had no doubt in mind that she was part of the Green Movement. Said's mother looked for her for 2 weeks in vain, and finally she appealed to a friend, an influential friend of her dead husband, also a veteran of the Iraq-Iran war, for help. And only then she was called in to identify the corpse of Saida's, that was laying in one of the many makeshift morgues that were hastily arranged in June to house all the bodies of those who died in the protests. Identifying her was a gruesome task because Said's body had been burned from her knees up to her waist. This is a quite common procedure in Iran to cover the traces of rape that many female inmates are submitted to in Iran's prisons. If I can have the next picture, please. Yeah. This is 28-year-old Taraneh Mousavi. On June 21st, she was in a gathering awaiting a speech by presidential candidate Hossein Mousavi, and she was abducted from the street by plainclothes officers. And reportedly, this is what Iranian bloggers in exile report, reportedly taken to Tehran's notorious Evin prison, notorious for torturing and raping female inmates. After 2 weeks of searching for her, Tarane's mother received a phone call in which a non-disclosed government official said that her daughter has been hospitalized with, and this is a quote, for rupturing her womb and anus in an unfortunate accident. I'm sorry for the graphic description, but this is the official quote. Well, Tarane wasn't to be found at the hospital. Instead, a couple of days later, her body was found on the outskirts of the city with, her body burnt from her knees up to her waist again to cover the signs and traces of rape that she has been submitted in Evin prison. One of the Iranian bloggers wrote that she was gang raped before being executed. And now one more picture, and this is a face that you probably all know. This is 28-year-old Neda Sultan. Probably many of you saw her face in the news. She was killed in the middle of a very crowded Teherani street while on her way to a demonstration that she never made it to because she was hit by the bullet of a Basiji militia sniper. If you saw the video, it's really touching. You can actually see it still on YouTube. It has been, her death, her dying, has been filmed by a cell phone and then fed to the YouTube from where it made to most newscasts in the world. And it's a very touching film where you can see this beautiful young woman lying on the street with a very baffled look on her face as if she really wasn't able to believe what was happening to her. She became actually the face of Iran's struggle for freedom, for basic human rights. And, well, women in Iran are today not only marching alongside men in demonstration. They seem to be at the very front lines of what is now, I think, one could say, becoming a slow, peaceful, but a very short green revolution. And yeah, so now the basic question, what can we do to help, if there is anything we can do to help? And I think I would like to address that question to Fariva Davoudi Mohajer, who, as I said before, she is an Iranian journalist in exile in the United States. Are there any measures, any kind of international pressure that we can apply today to actually help the women and the people of Iran in their struggle?
Okay. Dzień dobry. تشکر میکنم از همه دوستانی که تلاش کردن این جلسه تشکیل بشه. I would like to thank everybody for having organized this conference. واقعیت این هستش که خواسته ها و مطالبات زنان در ایران نظامی رو به چالش میکشه که تمام پایه‌هاش بر اساس تبعیض و نابرابری بنا شده.
The requests of the women Iranian movement right now is bringing the Iranian regime to a pitfall, a regime that has been based on discrimination.